Let me tell you something that might shake you up a bit. Being broke is not just about the money in your pocket. It's about the belief in your mind. Broke is a mindset, a spirit, a way of seeing the world through a cracked lens, where excuses outweigh execution and comfort becomes more attractive than commitment. You've been down before. You've felt the weight of watching your bank account blink at you with zeros. You've stood in line, heart racing, hoping your car doesn't decline. You've made promises to yourself. This is the last time. But listen to me, until you get sick and tired of being broke, you will never rise above it. Because here's the truth. Being broke is a temporary situation, but staying broke, that's a choice. You want to never be broke again? Then you better stop worshiping comfort. Stop dancing with distraction. Stop making poverty a roommate and calling it your struggle. You weren't born to struggle. You weren't created to settle. You weren't built for the bottom. You got a mind that can build empires. You got a heart that can fuel nations. But you've been trained to survive instead of thrive. You want to change your life? Don't start with a wallet. Start with a mindset. Don't chase more money. Chase more meaning, more mission, more movement. Because when your why is bigger than your worry, your hustle gets hungrier. You see, people ask, how do I never be broke again? Here's how. You stop treating your time like it's cheap. You stop spending hours entertaining your pain instead of executing your purpose. You stop surrounding yourself with broke thinkers who speak doubt fluently. You stop saying someday and start saying right now. You build skills that pay the bills. You study, you grind, you show up when it ain't fun. You plant seeds when no one's watching. You master something that solves problems for others. Because value brings income and impact brings. And stop waiting for someone to rescue you. No one's coming. There's no magical bailout. There's no savior in a suit. You are the rescue mission. You are the breakthrough. You are the one. You want freedom? Then trade Netflix hours for next level thinking. Trade comfort food for clarity fuel. Trade likes for legacy. Trade followers for focus. Your future self is begging you to wake up, to fight harder, to believe deeper, to do one more rep, one more call, one more hour, one more day. Because let me promise you this, if you fight with everything in you, if you make a decision, not a wish, not a hope, but a decision to never be broke again, then poverty won't be able to hold you. Lack won't be able to chain you. And fear will pack its bags and run from the fire in your spirit. You were not born to just make ends meet. You were born to make history. So decide right now, never be broke again. Being broke is a mindset. Until you change your thinking, your bank account will never change. It's not just about what's in your wallet. It's about what's in your head. You can deposit all the dollars in the world, but if you're still mentally poor, the money won't stay because your outer world is always echoing your inner world. You can give a broke mindset $1 million and in a year they'll be right back at zero because they never upgraded the system that controls how they think, how they spend, how they manage, and how they multiply. That's why some people win the lottery and go bankrupt while others start from zero and build empires. It's never about the start, it's about the standard. And your standard is rooted in your thoughts. If you think like a victim, you'll live like one. If you think like a hustler, you'll grind like one. If you think like a boss, you'll move like one. But if you keep thinking broke, small, limited, fearful, then no matter how many opportunities come your way, you'll sabotage them. The mind has a language. It speaks to you every single day. If the voice in your head is always whispering, I can't afford that. That's too much. People like me don't make it. Then that voice becomes your commander. It controls your choices, your risks, your movements. It holds you in a cage that has no bars, just beliefs. A broke mindset fears investing in itself. It fears taking a chance. It fears stepping outside the lines. It holds on to pennies and misses the millions. It trades long-term wealth for short-term comfort. It stays loyal to struggle because struggle is familiar, and comfort is the enemy of progress. Until you challenge those internal beliefs, you'll keep recycling the same broke experience. You'll keep watching others grow while you stay stuck, not because you lack potential, but because you never challenged your pattern. When you change how you think, you change what you attract. Your thoughts are magnets. If you constantly think lack, you attract lack. If you believe there's never enough, you'll never have enough. But when you shift into abundance, when you start thinking, I deserve more, I can learn what I don't know, I can build what doesn't exist, then you start moving different. You start walking into rooms with your chest up. You start reading instead of scrolling. You start building instead of begging. You stop depending on luck and start developing skill. Because wealth begins when you become intentional. Broke is reactive. Wealthy is strategic. Broke waits. But understand this, a broke mindset isn't always loud. Sometimes it disguises itself as humility. It says, I'm just being realistic. It says, money isn't everything. It says, I don't need much to be happy. And while those statements may sound wise on the surface, they often come from a place of fear and limitation. You weren't put on this earth to survive. You were put here to thrive. You were born with gifts, talents, and the ability to grow, evolve, and contribute to the world in a way that leaves a mark. And yes, happiness isn't in the money, but money is a tool. It's a resource. It amplifies who you are. And when your mindset shifts to understand that money in the hands of a good heart creates powerful impact, you no longer feel guilty about building wealth. You feel called to it. You feel responsible to grow so you can give, so you can elevate not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Most people don't realize they're carrying mental poverty. They think poverty only lives in neighborhoods. But poverty lives in decisions. Poverty lives in procrastination. Poverty lives in fear. It's not just about low income, it's about low intention, low energy, low belief. The moment you realize that wealth starts from the inside, you stop waiting for a raise, a rescue, a miracle. You become your own economy. You become a generator of growth. You realize that the most powerful asset you own is not your job, not your degree, not your resume. It's your mindset. If you got the right mindset, you can lose everything and rebuild. If you got the right mindset, you can walk into a room of giants and not shrink. If you got the right mindset, you don't chase opportunities, you create them. People with a broke mindset love to say, I'm doing my best. But the truth is, most aren't. They're doing their comfortable best. They're doing what's easy, what's safe, what won't embarrass them. A real shift happens when you get sick of hearing your own excuses. When you stop defending your struggle. When you start looking in the mirror and saying, I am the reason I'm broke. And I am the reason I will never be again. That's when change begins. That's when the hunger wakes up. That's when you stop spending money to look rich and start building habits to become rich. Because real wealth isn't about what you wear. It's about what you know, what you practice, what you execute. And when your mindset shifts, everything else follows. No one can fix your finances until you fix your focus. You can't earn more until you think bigger. You can't invest better until you believe you deserve better. You can't leave poverty behind until you stop inviting it in through every excuse you make. Changing your mind is the hardest part, but once it's done, everything else becomes possible. When you start reading books instead of watching nonsense, when you start taking courses instead of buying clothes, when you start connecting with visionaries instead of complainers, the universe begins to respond. Opportunities show up, doors crack open, and most importantly, you show up. You become the person who no longer identifies with being broke. You don't talk like it, act like it, or accept it. You stop asking how much does it cost and start asking how much can I earn from it. You stop seeing money as something to chase and start seeing it as something to attract. You stop complaining about not having enough and start building the skills that make you unstoppable. You stop waiting on blessings and start becoming one. You understand that poverty isn't your portion, it's just where you pass through. But your destination, your destiny, that's abundance. That's overflow, that's legacy. But you won't get there by thinking like the old you. You won't grow by staying comfortable. You won't level up until you let go of the broke beliefs that have been robbing you silently. That's why transformation begins in the mind. That's why real wealth starts with the decision to become mentally rich before you ever see physical riches. Because once your thoughts rise, your actions rise. And once your actions rise, your results rise. That's when your life begins to shift. That's when you walk into rooms with confidence. That's when you negotiate like you belong. That's when you stop settling for crumbs and start demanding your seat at the table. And if there's no table, you build one. Because a rich mindset doesn't wait for permission. It creates its own lane. It doesn't beg, it builds. It doesn't fear, it fuels. And once you become that kind of person, broke becomes a memory, not a condition. A chapter, not the whole story. A footnote, not the title. And you realize that everything you needed to change your life was inside of you all along.